developer at the Nature Conservancy, and I'm here today to talk to you about a project that we have done over the past couple of years, but really mostly over the past 6 months or so, and that is database size reduction. Basically, just what it sounds like, cleaning out unneeded data, deleting it from the database to improve performance, and basically just to have less size. Um, so the first thing I'll mention to you is I have submitted all our code for you guys to have, as well as English description, like Word document descriptions of the code. So that's all been, you guys can have all of that. It's all global changes pretty much, and a couple of things that support the global changes, like, a few tables and simple data lists and stuff like that. But I put the word draft on here. I just wanted to give you the caveat, deleting data is, potentially it's a high risk activity. So don't just, um, test everything. Make sure it works for you. Just because it works for us doesn't necessarily mean it would, just make sure you vet everything out thoroughly if you're going to use it. Everything that I submitted, we've already been running in production for quite some time in most cases. There was only one thing I submitted that we haven't run in production yet, and that's deleting interactions. And that's because my colleague wrote that. And it's just been, I think it's still in testing, or it's about to be. But anyway, so yeah, use it at your own risk. Make sure you understand it before you do it. So the way we've done all the database size reduction is just one query, one queue. We run it once a week. We run it on the weekend. It takes about 2 hours to run, and it's all global changes. There's nothing else. It's just global changes. But also one more caveat, this code, a lot of it probably wouldn't work straight right out of the box for you because we used a few ad hoc queries, and, there isn't really any easy way that I know of to move those over to you. So if there's ad hoc queries, you'd have to write them for yourself and, just update the code. And also, I didn't mention what order to put things in. If you look at the English, it should be pretty obvious, and it's not that complicated, but I didn't give you guys an order. And then the final thing is I didn't make any global change instances because your organization might want the parameters to be different and, be easy enough for you guys to make global change instances. So that is my very long caveat. I wanted to give it first. Let's see. But sorry, I thought I was going to hide that part, but although it doesn't really matter if you saw it, it just doesn't look quite as clean. All right, so real quick, why would you want to do this? Why did we do it? Mostly to save space. The reason being that we are moving to the cloud, and so, space costs money, and we wanted to, not have to pay as much, and also better performance, especially I think with like batches. And so, a lot of times it seems like if you do a project, it feels like the hardest part is the requirements. And I just wanted to mention who all you're going to be talking to. The business, obviously, they can tell you what data isn't needed anymore, how far back you can go, that sort of thing. You'll talk to the DBAs to let them know what's going on. They might have to shrink the database. They might have to like redo some indexes, stuff like that, and just keep them in the loop. And it'll be good to talk to business intelligence and analytics, BIA, because they might need certain data, like for their data warehouse that you might not have realized. Maybe they're relying on the audit tables in a way that you need to know about. Also, maybe they have a copy of data somewhere so that you could, get rid of it out of BBCRM because you got a copy in the data warehouse and you're good there. And obviously, you always talk to enterprise production operations to they'll be carrying out a lot of the changes that we need. So, like I mentioned before, we just wrote one weekly queue, bunch of global changes. I'll show it to you in just a little bit. Run it once a week, very simple. All right, so the first thing here that I want to show to you is BlackPods out of the box tool. It's got metadata and statistics regarding database growth management. I'll show you the whole thing in a second, but this is the first tab on this tool. Actually, I'll just show it to you right now. To show you where it is. This is our dev environment that I'm showing you. And under administration, and then administration there, here's the database growth management. And this is a really great tool. I found it to be accurate, and it can really point you in the direction of data that you might be able to part with. So here's the first tab, and it's kind of a summary tab, and you can see it runs when you want it to. This is 2 months ago because we're in dev, so you can set it up to run whenever you want. It takes a while to run. So it's kind of unfortunate where this little like where this is stationed, because you can't really see the most recent data under it. But what I'll show you here is this is once a year, so 17, 18, 19. We went into BBCRM, I think, in 2015, and you can see slowly but steadily the data rising. Here's where we started working on the database size reduction project and just made a little dent into it. You see it going down, but then we didn't work on it for a while. You can see it going up here to almost 4.5 terabytes, and then you can see it plummeting, which is from our project. And also some other people have worked on database size reduction too. Most of it's been this project, I think, but you can see it plummeting down to more like 3 terabytes. So if you were looking in prod, about 1.5 terabytes reduced, multiplied by the number of environments that we're going to send to the cloud, which I think is 2. So saving a lot of space. The black is overall, and the different colors are listed here. So that's the main summary. And then I don't think I'll go through all these because it looks like, I think somebody has a question or something. Hang on. Bear with me, guys. The presenter is what now? What am I doing? Only seeing the PowerPoint? Oh, yeah. Oh, you guys want to see me too? Is that it? Oh, you can't see, you can't see BBCRM. I gotcha. Let's try that again. We want to see the screen you're working on. That's very understandable. Sorry, guys. This is the first time I've done this at BlackPod Dev. So let's see. How do I make it so that you can see the screen? I think we got let's see. Sharing a window. I honestly don't know how to do this. If anybody knows how to do this, feel free to change your screen share settings. Okay. Where would that be? Cog on top right. Okay, cool. Cog on top right. All right. No, that isn't it. I don't think, anyways. Is anybody in here from BlackPod? Minimize PP. I'm not really sure what PP is. Let's see. Oh, I bet it's only one content share allowed. Can you move window to PowerPoint screen? You may have chosen just to share a window. Yeah, this all worked just fine yesterday. All right, let's try stop sharing. Let's try sharing again. Yeah, it all worked fine yesterday when we were testing it out. All right, share again. Why don't we try entire screen? Okay, that's not helpful.
You got it now. You're sharing your entire screen, so you're going to be able to hop in and out of your PowerPoint.
Oh, sweet. So you guys can see, can you guys see BBCRM?
Yes, we can. This time we can.
Oh, thank God. Okay, cool. All right, and then let me put my slides going again. Sorry, guys, they worked fine yesterday. Anyways, yeah, so I'm showing BBCRM, but I got my slides open. Let's hide that. All right, so what I had been talking about was this is the first tab of the database growth management. I'm going to kind of speed up because that took up a lot of time. Yeah, basically you can use this tool. It will show you, it can show you where a lot of the space is, like just real quickly, like audit tables. You can see like address audit is still taking up a lot of time. A lot of the other ones don't have a lot of space anymore because we cleaned them up. And I just want to make sure that. All right. I hear a lot of like pinging, and I just want to make sure I'm not making. Okay, yay. All right, cool. So, like audit, for example, you can see what audit tables are still taking up a lot of space. And by the way, also, there's a couple out of the box global changes that can help with some of this. This is a BlackPod one, delete audit data. You can use a selection or all audit table. It says how far it'll go back. We didn't wind up going with this because we wanted something a little custom, but those do exist. And there's one for export tables also, and I think there's one for business process output. You can actually put them down here, but we didn't go with that. We did everything as a queue. And again, I'm just gonna like go through this real quick. It's basically the same idea. Just different tabs are different types of data, like your custom tables. And that's nice because if you ever made one and you forgot about it, if it's big enough, it's going to show up here. Or we've had vendors working their own schema, and then it'll show up here later to remind you. You can get rid of their schema after they're done doing their work for you. So that's basically, in summary, the BlackPod out of the box database growth management tool. Really great and can help point you in the direction that you can go. All right, so moving along. Okay, so I showed you this already. So here's so I mentioned our queue contains a bunch of GCs, and here's the places that we went for. The audit tables, they are your low-hanging fruit. I'll talk about you more in a second. That's a good way to clean things up, clean up a lot of data that's not needed anymore. Batch tables, yeah, that's good for performance. We have not done revenue batches yet because we're still working with the business to nail down a couple of those rules. But we've done other batch template types like some cub batches, and that's really nice. Nice and clean, makes your committed batches tab cleaner, so that's nice. We have a GC that drops tables. We have a GC that deletes records from tables. And we've used that for a whole bunch of different tables. We have some GCs to work on some custom type tables, like if any of you use Brightfind Data Link, really great tool. We use it extensively. A lot of that data after a while becomes redundant because it's loaded into final BBCRM. I'll show you that a little later. And then we've got a log table that runs at the beginning and the end of the of the queue to keep track of how much data has been reduced, how many records and what tables, make sure everything is working the way it should. And by the way, we have found that the log table tracks with this. They're in agreement with each other, so that's nice. All right, so let's go on to some specifics. I mentioned already audit tables. You can do it out of the box if you want, which I just showed you. And so our custom tables, also, I'm hearing a lot of beeping, so I just want to make sure if there's questions, I don't want to pass them up. All right, what do we got here? I missed how you got to, oh, okay. Oh yeah, this is all BBCRM. Does anyone know, and all true? No, I don't know personally. Maybe somebody else knows. Is it accessible from NXT? Yeah, this is BBCRM. Cool. We do something similar. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really great. They really can grow quickly. Marketing data. Yeah, we are just working on that now. I'll get to it, but that's exciting because it's really a lot of data. Constituent appeal table. So anyways, let's see. So audit tables, really, talk to the business. And today we've cleaned up about 400 gigs of audit data, and we use this handful of global changes, and the parameter is days back. And so we just list the tables. Let me show you. Sorry, guys. Let me try to, oh, here we go. All right, cool. So if we go to look at the global changes, they're all different instances of this global change database size reduction delete records. So if you look at them, pretty straightforward insofar as, so the date field to use, that's just a little custom table, and you could add date changed to it. We just have never needed it. You see, we didn't want to do it by date added. We want to do it by audit date. That's why we couldn't use BlackPods out of the box. Record how many days back. So anything more than 2 weeks is going to be deleted. Max records per table. Ours are really high because we've got everything cleaned out now. And then here would be the tables. These are all the tables that anything older than 2 weeks we don't need. And mostly a lot of attribute tables. And if you want to add a table, you just add it in the drop down here, which calls off a simple data list, because there's how many tables in BlackPod CRM? I think, what is it, like 200,000 or something crazy like that. You don't want all those tables. So this is a simple data list, and you or enterprise production or whoever does this thing can add a table, and then all these instances run once a week in the queue. I'll actually show you the queue real quick when I'm at it. It's very straightforward. It's really a lot of steps, but we could have had it be way fewer steps if we had rolled all these up into one global change, but we weren't that sophisticated when we started. You can see it's all global changes. There's the log at the beginning. There's the log at the end. And we put continue on error equals yes for all the steps because they don't really rely on each other. All right, I'm going to check and see. Grapevine, marketing table, yeah, for sure. There's nothing. Okay, cool. Got it. All right. So that's audit tables. So next, let's talk about the batch tables. Not as much data so far, but like I said, that is because we're not doing revenue batches yet. That'll be, we're close. Like I actually have the code written for it. So, but we're still working with the business. So about 50 gigs of batch data, not really a whole lot yet. We use BlackPods out of the box, stored proc, USP underscore batch delete. What that does is it deletes the child table, it keeps the batch itself, sets the status to deleted. So it's nice and clean. And I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you here in the, there. All right, oops. All right, so let's look at one of those. So that would be, all of our stuff starts with database size reduction. So delete batches by template is the global change. And there's actually a more up-to-date one called delete batches by template version 2, but that is not live. And it would let you, instead of just selecting one batch template, it would let you select a whole bunch of them. But definitely test that one. So how many days back, and here you pick the batch template, max number of records, here's all the batch templates, doesn't have the revenue ones yet because they're not live. But basically you can delete from old batch templates. We've got, if they're more than 2 years old, you know, like this, Agilus is a vendor we don't even use anymore. There's a checkbox if you want to delete uncommitted batches. We never have actually done this in prod, but it does work. So that is everything for batches. All right, cool. Next. Sorry, I'm not sure why it keeps going back to the other. There we go. Okay, drop tables. You could drop tables. You could do it with a table drop down or an ad hoc query. I'm going to show you guys both ways. Both ways have their pros and cons. I personally like ad hoc queries better, but that's just me. All right, so if we go here, let's look for drop. We set a lot of things up. You know, you could always hard code or whatever, but we set these things up so that over time, if we needed to make changes, we wouldn't need to submit code and have it go through the big, long weekly process. We could just say, hey, drop this table, and enterprise production operations would be able to add it and run it. So pretty straightforward. So there's no other parameters. It's just the tables, same from a simple data list. And you just select which table you want to drop, and then it drops. Other way to do it, ad hoc queries. Like I said, I happen to like this way a lot. This gets rid of our old like temporary export tables, 60 days back, next number of records, and list of ad hoc queries. Simple data list just of the ad hoc queries that begin with database size reduction. So you can see here, database size reduction export tables. And then if you go to the ad hoc query, and again, I didn't provide the ad hoc queries because I don't think there's a really easy way to do that for somebody else. But if we look, there's only like 3 or 4 of them. And then if we want to look here at the export queries, it's all the ones that are export underscore. And so then you can see using an escape key because you don't want to delete export process or tables like that. And then I think we have another ad hoc query like this for the ETL deleted ID tables and that sort of thing. This is a little slow, so we won't worry about it. But so that is drop tables. Oh, I'm just gonna leave these notes here. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just notes for myself. Yeah, so I like ad hoc query better, but there's advantages to the list of table names because you can just request that a name be added. But also for the table names, it's kind of hard to read. It's all scrunched together. You might want to add a UI model. That would be nice, but it's not like these are going to be done for data entry every day, but you could add a UI model if you want, which is something I've been meaning to get around to doing. All right, let's look at one of the delete records from tables. Strange. All right, it's real quick. Delete records from tables. We can go back and look at our global changes. We'll just say, all right, so here's some, the audit tables are just actually instances of that particular global change. So you've already seen it, but if we want to pick like another one, Like here's a good one. This is Zuri, their velocity process tool, 7 or 8 or maybe 9 tables. We can clean them out after 6 months using the date added field, as you can see. And then here's just a list of the tables. And then all these tables get cleaned out after 6 months. That's a good example. We have a few other examples. Let me just check in with the comments and such now. All right. Where do we find the code? Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, I'm really sorry, you guys. I'm really a novice at this. All right, so presenting on spatial chat, as you can see. All right, actually, we're going along pretty well. So I thought I'd talk about a couple of miscellaneous. Like I mentioned, we've got delete from the BVDL tables, and it's a little more complicated, which is why we had to not just use our other instances of stuff that we made. It's a little complicated to explain, but the full English description, we call them functional specifications, is included along with all the code and that sort of thing. And it'll explain exactly what we did. And like additionally, we've got a new stored proc that, like I said, not stored proc, sorry, global change that is not, we don't have it in prod yet. I think my colleague just wrapped it up. It might still be in testing, but I thought it was really great. So, test it yourself, but I wanted to just put it in for you. BVDL, here we have a list of all the different BVDL processes. This is all of the ones that we actually do: cvent, engaging networks, mobile commons. So you can do it for more than one BVDL process and say how many days ago to go, and even deleting processes that end in error, and look at the Word doc to explain the whole thing. And here I'll show my colleagues' interactions, because interactions take up a lot of space, that's for sure. Let's see. Where is it? I think this must be it. Yeah, so he wrote this days back, max records to delete. I think he told me you have to put that in there for a like, but then you can do your contact, whatever contact method you want, the category and the subcategory. And again, he's got it all explained in the English, but I think really nice to get rid of some of those. Anyways, just a little note about materialized views. Those can take up a lot of space. We weren't using them, so I've only got like maybe 2, but take a look at all of them, see if you still need them, see if you can do it without them, maybe see if you can cut down on their use if you can, because they can really hog up a lot of space. At least look them over. And like I saw in one of the comments, our next phase is to review data related to direct marketing efforts, marketing tables. For one thing, it'll reduce the constituent appeal table. We have data in that constituent appeal data table going back to 1995. Now, we don't really all need that anymore. Let's see. Yeah, and if you go back, like I'll just show you real quick. If we go back to the tool, BlackPods tool that shows, if you're wondering which tables you can maybe focus on, you can just look at these different tabs. And when you go, like, I think it's just application data. If you go there, constituent appeals at the top. I mean, look at this, 767 gigs. We're really hoping to cut down some of that, and hopefully some of constituent segment as well. Let me see what all notes people have. Okay, just looking for resources. Okay, cool. I did have a couple more notes from my that I had meant to tell you. Um, let's see, just a couple little things. Oh, regarding the audit table, I wanted to let you know. For one thing, those can affect the history table on the front end, so make sure that that is okay with you before deleting them. Make sure nobody's relying on the history table for old stuff. And also, a little tip that probably most of you know already as regards the audit tables, if you go under administration and then you go under audit tables, you can also turn audit tables on and off and purge them. So if you have one that you really don't actually need to be audited, but you have it on, you can turn it off. So this is something you can do from the front end. Let's see. What are some? All right. Similarly, with the tool, that's how we we found that we're still working on address audit. That's why it's so big. But then when you just page through the tool, you just see address audit like way in the lead here as far as space. And that's how you know that it's probably worth looking at. Make sure. I think. Oh, I did want to say one more thing about physically deleting batches. Let me just make sure if anybody has any more questions for me. Oh, that's a great question. Let's see. One more little note, and then I'll answer your question. One of our GCs physically delete batches actually goes back in and deletes the batch record. The out of the box stored proc only deletes the child tables. This actually deletes the batch record on the. So that's kind of nice because it'll clean up your batch entry, like your committed batch detail screen and that sort of thing. But again, you want to be really careful. We only do it if they're more than 2 years old. So, be really careful before you're deleting batches. And I believe that is that's called physically delete. Oh, only a year. We do them a year back just for certain types of batches. So just wanted to mention that. So let's see. Any advice on how to organize the knowledge for other coworkers to see? Oh, you mean in general? Oh, um, that's probably beyond the scope. Oh, there's John. Yeah, we use Confluence. Thanks, John. John's my boss. So, all right. Let me see. That's the last thing. Oh yeah, one note as well. All right, so last I thought I'll talk about the log table since we have time. Oops. All right, I mentioned we have a GC. It runs at the start and the end of the queue, and it populates a custom table called USR or DB size log. And by running at the start and the end, you can see how many, this is the basic idea table name, date, rows in the space. So you can see before the queue ran, it had this many rows, and at the end, it had such many rows. So for example, we'll look at the batch table here. So on 12/3, the queue ran. Before it ran, there were 302,565 rows. After the queue ran, it went down to 292,565. So you can see, we're not deleting batches for any other reason, especially not on the weekend. So you can see how much impact the queue had each time. I took, and so if you want to like query this USRDB size log table more, I had a few queries for the stats here, and I actually just went ahead and put this into my code that's being shared. So you can actually use that, like this will show for all time how much gigabytes is reduced. Then you can break it down by table and date, or break it down however you want, but that's included in my shared code. And I will say, like I mentioned before, our log table tracks with the BlackPod out of the box tool. So that is everything. Does anyone have any questions? Also, I will check here to see. Cool. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, let me think of anything I can think of in the last 5 minutes, but I think we're good. All right. Oh, awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Aw, you guys are sweet. I was sweating bullets there. All right. Oh, you guys are very sweet. So how many people were here? I'm not really sure. All right, so I'm all done. Oh, nice. I'm all done, so I guess I'll sign out. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.